Hi guys, this is the first video in a series that I want to do and have been wanting to do for a while on uh, military service. The first video I want to do is for people who are thinking about joining the military, so it'll be a little more general. Um, I want to touch on some different things just about joining the military in general. I was in the Navy and I also worked at a lot of joint commands, so I worked alongside the other branches, and that has enabled me to kind of view the other branches from somebody, a sailor's perspective, basically. Um, so I want to just give some of my own personal experience and observations that might help anybody who's thinking about joining the military. So that's what this video is going to cover. The second video that I am planning on doing is going to cover a little bit more specifically the Navy, since that's what I was in, obviously, um, which will be helpful for anybody who is thinking about joining the Navy or maybe has just joined and is just wanting some advice. The third video that I'd like to do is going to cover more specifically what I did in the Navy, in case there's anybody who is interested in that. So to get started, joining the military is, in my personal opinion, a really great way to begin adulthood. And what I mean by that is, obviously, a lot of people who are joining the military are doing so right out of high school. Um, and I think it's in many ways it's superior to going to college or something like that, simply because you you walk away, I think, generally speaking, with a different character and a different attitude and a different perspective on things that you really can't get through just getting out of high school and getting a job or going to college. Um, Additionally, you're obviously going to get a lot of college experience through the military in terms of your job training and then obviously the GI Bill, which most people know about. In terms of which service is better or whatever, um, you know everybody's got their opinions. I think it depends on who you are. It depends on who you are, and it depends on where you want to be after you get out of the military. So what I mean by that is, um, generally speaking, but not exclusively, the Navy and the Air Force tend to be very technology oriented, just because of the nature of what we're doing. You're on a ship dealing with a lot of um, technology and stuff like that, or the Air Force, they're real tech heavy as well in a lot of their jobs. Now I say not exclusively because obviously the Army and the Marines both have jobs uh, which you're dealing with, complicated systems or whatever. For example, I think pretty much all the branches have like an IT job. Now the difference in that job between the branches, there's going to be variation, right? Um, but more generally speaking, um, the Marines. If you're a very active person, if you're really into athletics and you're a gym kind of person, and you kind of like that um, atmosphere, those types of people, you're really kind of a motivated, kind of go, go, go kind of person. That's kind of how I perceive people that are in the Marines. And again, I'm kind of making some generalities here because you can't cover everybody. But the Marines are a very physically active branch. And if you don't know what the Marines are about in terms of their mission as a branch, I'd recommend investigating that. That'll probably clear things up for you. The army, the army is a little harder to peg in my mind, just because they have a lot of people, they have a lot of jobs, they have a lot of bases all around the world, and so I have a little bit harder time pegging um, the army is this or that. I would say that the army has a good deal of diversity in what you can do, and a good deal of diversity in where you can go. And where you can get stationed is something you might want to keep in mind. That's really important to a lot of people. Some people join, the Navy and think that they're gonna get to go to, Indiana or something in the Midwest or something. And it's possible, but you got to look at the mission of the branch, and then primarily what that means. The Navy, depending on your job, you're probably going to end up on a coast somewhere, at a larger naval station, so San Diego, Norfolk, Virginia, something like that. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about the different branches. Um, the Air Force is an interesting branch. They have a lot going on. They have a lot to offer in terms of you know what you can walk away with. I tend to think about the Air Force as a very professional branch. I mean, they're the younger of the branches. They came out of the Army Air Corps. Um, you know, they're not a very old branch, so they have tradition and things like that, but they're not as heavily, uh, you know, tradition oriented as, like, say, maybe the Navy. Um, and so it's more of like a professional environment. I think is kind of how I always viewed the Air Force. So if you're looking for more of, I don't want to say the least of the military branches, but if you're looking for a very professional branch, the Air Force might be a good option for you. People tend to not think, uh, that same kind of physical activity like the Marines, for example. And then lastly, the Navy. Um, the Navy's a pretty diverse branch as well. Um, there's a lot of tradition there. It's a real different world, honestly, because a lot of the jobs are seagoing jobs, and that's just a different ballgame. There's just really nothing comparable to that, because the Air Force, for example, people tend to think Air Force, so you're going to be flying around in planes or blah 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 blah. That's possible, but that's not the normal thing, and you're not in a plane for weeks on end. Whereas in the Navy, you might be at sea for a real long time. Some jobs in the Navy, you're at sea for a lot of your time in the Navy. So take that into account when you're looking at branches. Um, all of them have something to offer. Like I say, it just depends on who you are right now, and where you think you want to be. Either if you're going to stay in the military, maybe make a career of it, or if you're just going to do 4 years or whatever and get out. Um, if you're the kind of person that has a hard time getting up in the morning and you do not like exercising, I wouldn't recommend, going to the Marines unless you're going in to maybe make some life changes. And in any case, they all have something to offer. Um, put a lot of thought into it. Don't rush it. Try to talk to people who have done it recently, because things change. The military from the 70s isn't the military now, so talking to your grandpa may not give you an accurate picture of it. Um, just take your time, try to be informed. So that's going to wrap up for this video. That was even a little more general than I had hoped it would be. Questions, concerns, comments, whatever. If you want me to make another video on something specifically, leave a comment and I'll see what I can do. Thanks, and make sure to check out my other videos.